It's a story we've been hearing a lot lately, whether it's JCPenney, Blackberry, or Dell. A company that was once the darling of Wall Street falls from grace. Why does that happen, and what are the warning signs for investors? We turn now to Bill George. He's the former CEO of Medtronic and currently professor of management at Harvard Business School. Bill, I'm sure this is a situation you've seen a lot where investors just don't spot the signs that a company that was a superstar company and stock gets into trouble. What are the warning signs? What should investors look out for, and how can they guard against their investments?
I think the first thing you have to look forward to is the leadership. It's the leadership on the cutting edge of technology and market changes. BlackBerry's a tragedy in the making, and I've seen it coming for a couple of years because the management was very parochial, as was the board. I love Canada, but they're all Canadians. They were not diverse. They didn't spread out into Silicon Valley, and they didn't partner up. It's a small company. How are they going to compete with Apple, Google, Samsung, these really big folks out there? They had the generic product. Everyone called their smartphone a BlackBerry, but they really lost it, and they're in a fast race, and it's almost impossible for them to catch up now. Very similar situation to Nokia. It was a Finnish company. Also, great engineers, but very turned inward, not in touch with the market changes and the technology changes. And these companies that don't have leaders who are really reaching out and engaging the changes and being very much on the forefront of change are going to lose out, and they're going to cost investors a lot. So I think you have to look first to the leadership of the company and its board. Is it going to be on the cutting edge? Is it going to make the moves in advance? Don't look at quarterly earnings. They'll really mislead you. But now the companies are in trouble, and it's on life support.
This is something that is not, Bill, just endemic in technology, but it sure seems like technology is where an awful lot of these swoons take place. You mentioned Nokia. Motorola had the commanding market share in the cell phone business. Yahoo was a commanding player in search and on the Internet, and now it's playing catch-up. Is there something about technology that makes those kind of companies, so much more prone than, say, drug or medical devices where you made your career, or media?
It's like trying to get on the bullet train in Japan, Tyler, and it's moving so fast you can't get on. And if you get off, it's hard to get back on the track, and that's what's happened here. It moves fast. Google just went right by Yahoo. I hope Marisa can bring it back. Investors seem to think so, but it's a long shot. Nokia had it made. They were #1, and they've lost their position, and I don't see them coming back at this stage. But Tyler, you mentioned JCPenney. It's not just technology. Here's a company that for a decade or two was asleep at the switch, but they tried to do it too fast, and they didn't put the things in place like Target did to always be fashion forward, be ahead of the game, figure out where their consumers are going. So it's not just technology. Yes, that moves fast, but so does retail. And unless you're ahead of the game in fashion, ahead of the game in technology, you're going to lose out. And that's a leadership question. I was served on the board of Target for 12 years. They were always way ahead of JCPenney and thinking about design, thinking about creativity. And then an activist comes in, wants you to change it overnight like Bill Ackman did. It can't be done. You really have to have the leadership that's planning out your technology moves.
We just have half a minute left. I want to ask you this, since you have such an eye to spot these kind of situations. What companies out there, technology or in any other field, do you see that investors still are in love with them, but they're headed for trouble?
Well, I worry a lot about a great company, Microsoft, because they're so dependent on Office and Windows. And I see a lot of some of the same tendencies that IBM had. And one of these days, that big balloon is not going to be there producing all those profits. And they're going to have to stay on top of the game that Google has and start investing. Now, to their credit, they've been investing heavily in things, but they've missed so many of the new things coming along. And I think you have to create an environment that's really open to new ideas and creativity. We had to do that at Medtronic, and that's the key.
And you were a success there, very much so. Thank you so much, Bill, for coming on the program.
You.
Bill George, professor at Harvard Business School.